The first case, SUP 12-04, 1003 Douglas, request for a special use permit to raise the existing building and construct a new dwelling for up to 11 occupants. Jeff?
Yes. You will recall that the case and cases related to 1003 Douglas have been on your agenda several times over the course of the last several months. As kind of a reminder, site location is on the east side of Douglas Street, just south of Clayton. The property's in the M2, which is a multiple residential zoning district, or the district where more than two unrelated people are permitted in dwellings, and is surrounded on all sides by similar zoning and similar land uses. You will remember, as was reported during the Zoning Board of Appeals report, that in July you had a special use, a similar special use permit request before you, and the proposal was, it was the first proposal to consider increasing the number of tenants in the unit, the redevelopment of that property from by two, going from 9 as permitted by ordinance to 11. The Planning Commission granted an approval at that time, but there was some discomfort, or I guess some feeling that the proposal did not separate itself from others that you had approved for 1, and you were willing to grant an approval for 10. At that time, you also had the site plan review in front of you. The applicant requested postponement of that site plan review to consider options, and you've not actually taken action as of yet on the site plan review. So this evening, I'll provide a report on updates on where we're at. I will cover both issues, although you have separate ones, one for the special use permit now that would authorize the use, and then later in the agenda, the site plan review that would grant the approval of the site plan. The site plan itself is relatively unchanged from what you saw previously. Similar to other projects that you've approved for redevelopments, parking would be taken to the rear of the property, accessed on from the alley. In this case, 12 parking spaces would be provided to serve the 11 units. What the applicant did, following the last actions that you took on this, was to take into consideration the adjustments that you all considered to the M2 redevelopment standards. And you'll remember that you added some specific language to try and give some guidance to those conditions where you would consider going from 1 additional tenant to 2 additional tenants. And the 3 points were elimination of notable nonconformities, durable and distinct building design, and a demonstrated track record for long-term maintenance and code compliance. And I'll just kind of go through each of those points. The applicant's taken the language that you have drafted and attempted to modify the request to try and hit those points. The reduction in nonconformities in this case, one of the observations the last time this was around was that while the elimination was notable, the number was fairly similar to others. There is one unique instance on this property, and one that we noted to be a rare instance in the district, and that is the existence of a rear dwelling unit. Over time, on some properties, accessory buildings, garages, and the like have been converted. That's a circumstance that's fairly uncharacteristic of the neighborhood, and in this case, the proposal would eliminate both of the dwellings on the property and combine those back into a single attached unit. These are the building elevations to talk about durable and distinct building design. On the left, you can see the approval as you granted it for 10 in July, and then on the right, the current proposal, and you do have those drawings in your packet. The applicant has worked with staff on a number of iterations of plans between July and now. One of the tweaks is that they have also gone out and sought some assistance from an architect, and you can see that the applicant has really taken into account things like modifying the building massing. The right side of the dwelling is kind of stepped back from the facade to kind of break up the long expanse. Really a modification in design from the more suburban style on the left, and taking into account some of the some historic-like features as you might see elsewhere in the neighborhood, with the addition of the turret on the left-hand side, railings on the porch, period windows, variations in siding material, going from clapboard siding to 2 different types of detail siding with fish scale and diamond, modifying with trim details. And much of this has been accomplished. We had talked about the importance of durability and a willingness on the part of the Planning Commission, where we had seen a significant amount of brick to consider if folks were willing to consider fiber cement and other durable types of siding. Would you consider the offset with the additional architectural details? So in this case, the applicant has removed much of the brick that you saw previously. We'll be going with a durable fiber cement siding, and that's part of how they're able to add some of those architectural features to the building. In staff's view, real significant improvement and change from the building type that we saw in July, and one that, in our view, sets itself apart from others that we've seen thus far. Lastly, in terms of the track record of code compliance, the property owner, Mr. Olivieri, is the applicant on behalf of the property owner, Rentwood Management. They do have a very good track record with the city, being responsive in terms of compliance with code issues and quick response when issues are found. I think, as the Commission has talked about, one of the important components of code compliance moving forward on these new projects is seeing the property owners take more initiative on code compliance to help take some of that burden off from city staff and take a hand in that themselves. They've provided a commitment to upgrading their lease provisions to similar to those that you've seen previously. We don't have that language for your consideration now. Certainly a track record there that would be consistent with your intent and purpose in the modified standards. So just to kind of finalize the site plan review, the building does comply with all setback standards, meets all of those requirements in that regard. Parking, as I stated previously, does exceed the parking requirement. 11 spaces are required, 12 would be provided. The greenbelt landscaping, the applicant is willing to provide foundation plantings, but at this time we don't have a landscaping plan for that and would recommend that be included as a condition of approval. Trash cart services provided and screening at the rear. Also in the location of the trash carts is bicycle parking for the tenants. And we've provided the 5-year code enforcement history on this property. The property owner did acquire it in the year 2000. You have comments also from the Division of Public Works and Division of Public Safety. They are unchanged from the last time that you saw this and fairly standard in nature. Stormwater management and utility connections will need to be reviewed on the Public Works side, and Public Safety has noted standard fire safety concerns, including posting of street address numbers, and as they have with others recently, recommending, not requiring, but recommending a sprinkler system inside of the building. The fire department continues to request with landscaping that rock not be used as a mulch material in this neighborhood, but more other natural materials that won't be used as projectiles. So with that, staff is recommending consideration of approval, provided that as you evaluate this, you find that it does comply with the upgrades that you've made to the standards for redevelopment in the M2 neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Any questions of staff? Okay, the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening. I really have nothing to add. We just covered all the bases, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Could you just identify yourself, please, just for the record?
Joe Olivieri.
Joe, what's durable fiber cement? What is that?
More expensive than vinyl. It's like a cement. It's like a firmest composite cement product that's.
But it's going to look like vinyl.
No, it's going to look like wood.
Oh, it looks like wood.
It's going to look like wood.
Yeah, I know.
Like with vinyl siding, you would run the end of that siding into a channel to hide the raw end. Fiber cement is just like using real wood siding. You'll leave a little gap between that and the corner post. You have to caulk it, just like if you were using real wood clapboard siding. So it'll look like the older homes, like the original clapboard siding.
Most of the modern materials too have the colors in the material itself versus a wood where you'd paint and there'd be increased maintenance. A lot of those materials have the colors through them so that they're true throughout.
In some of the commentary in the ZBA, and when we looked at this before, one of the key issues, and certainly in our standards, has been the upgrading of leasing standards. What exactly are those? I have a difficult time pulling them
Well,
together.
I believe, we've covered this in the past, and, we're limited by law what we can do.
I understand that.
And that's, our leases are right to where the law will let us go. I think, as Jeff explained, it's more of the landlord taking more active participation in helping the city to enforce the zoning stuff. Because there's only so much you can do with the lease before you cross that line, get into civil liberties and all different issues.
Yeah. I'm trying to get a handle on this. We have been talking about upgrading leasing standards. Is there any provision of the lease that's changed in terms of this project as opposed to projects that were more conventional and didn't ask for that additional occupancy?
Well, we pretty much already had those lease conditions as high as we could legally go.
Okay. So that really isn't a factor here. There aren't upgraded leasing standards. They're the same as we've had before.
Well, we can't upgrade them any higher. Yeah.
Okay, so they're the same as we had before.
When we started this procedure out years ago, and it was asked that we upgraded, that's when we took them up back then.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience then? We're going to open the public hearing. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address us on this case? Okay, seeing no one who wishes to address us, we'll close the public hearing and open it up to discussion.
I think it looks fantastic what they've come up with, and staff and has done a good job of working with this. I mean, our big concern was, if I remember correctly from July, was rare. We didn't know what rare things were and things like that. And, we weren't seeing anything really that different, and now we have. I guess, who is Rentwood PLLC? I mean, okay. Well, thank you.
Non-verbals doesn't count. Who is it, Jeff? What you would just say?
Mr. LaBelle identified himself as one of the members.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Like I said, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve SUP 1204 from Joe Olivier on behalf of Rentwood Management LLC to allow construction of a rooming dwelling with a maximum occupancy of 11 at the property located at 1003 Douglas with the following conditions. The applicant shall comply with the Department of Building Safety and the Fire Department requirements to obtain and retain a rental license. The applicant shall comply with all site plan review requirements, and the applicant shall comply with the requirements and conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Support?
Moved and support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and that motion carries.